it is our last session related to Salesforce Well-Architected Framework. Yes, Wes, you wanted to say something?
I'm just clicking around. Apologies. Please
Okay,
continue.
you're just checking. Okay. So during the trusted, we saw how we can protect our solutions. And during the easy, we covered how we can start delivering the value fast. So today is the last pillar of Salesforce Well-Architected Framework, like how we can evolve with the business itself. My name is Misbah, and let's start. So basically, adaptable is something related to being resilient and being composable. Let me start with the confession. So earlier days of my career, we implemented some solution. It was beautifully implemented, clean architecture, but it couldn't last for more than 6 months. So problem was not that something break. The problem was business changed, and because of when business changes, our solution couldn't. And this was one of the reasons our solution couldn't be used. So technically it was just a monument, a solution which they kept in somewhere in the repository and nobody used it. So today's session is all about that. So reality is business will change, and it doesn't mean that so priorities shift, and everybody in a corporate, they might have noticed it that based on the new market, based on the new products, based on the new sales processes, our processes, everything gets changed, and because of that we need to adopt those changes. L- Another example, our CEO, he went to Dreamforce and he saw something new. Let's say Agent Force, and now he wants to implement Agent Force. So can our org adopt those changes? So these are the all questions which comes under the pillar of adaptable. So let's start with that. Uh, so the first pillar under adaptable is being resilient. So what does that mean? It means resilient solution handle change well. The framework says resilient architecture can return to expected behavior and operations quickly and in predictable way. So let's see how it does that. So there are three aspects into being resilient. So first thing is application lifecycle management, ALM. This is how you manage the life of your solution from development to production. So I think all of us, we have seen this as a developer, as an admin, that we want to make changes, and then somebody wants to test it, then user acceptance testing. Everything comes under that ALM umbrella. So first thing under that is release management. So how does code from a developer sandbox is moved to production? If answer is somebody deploys it on a Friday afternoon and hopes for the best, then it's not a release management. It is something somebody's running an org with hopes and prayers. And mature ALM means we have a defined branching strategy. We have a version control, Salesforce DX, source driven deployment, and CI/CD pipeline. Changes are peer reviewed, deployments are automated, auditable, and repeatable. So Salesforce well-architected framework is actually clear about that strategy. Ad hoc releases are one of the biggest reasons uh, most Salesforce orgs are not stable, because whoever is deploying something, those are untraceable, and we don't know what changed when and why. And this is one of the reason when something breaks in the Salesforce orgs, we are unable to even trace it back what have exactly happened. Second thing is the environment strategy. So don't tell me that you are deploying directly on the production environment. So there are many people do that, and even some years back we used to do that. But it that's what Salesforce leads their environment strategy, that you need to have how many environment, what environment role is for what purpose. For example, developer sandbox for individual work, integration environment for merging changes, UAT environment for business validation, staging environment that mirror production environments. So the number of environments which usually we have depends on the team size and role of everybody. The point is, we need to really have a strategy, know, and we need to know what exact environment is doing what, and keep them up to date. Yeah, I have seen staging environments which are even more than 2 years old. So such environments don't mimic the production environment. So I don't know how even people uh, test their solutions into such environments. Then we have a third pillar, which is called testing strategy. Testing strategy is not something like 75% of test coverage. Many people, they think that 75% code coverage in Apex, that means your test strategy. That's exactly not. It is something you need to make sure the solution which you are implementing is testable and predictable. For example, you implemented a sales process, so your test should cover how our sales process start, how we select an account, how we create an opportunity, then code, then add product, then the price, and then we are able to predict the outcome. Not only predict, we should be able to assert it, that our solution is producing the exact results which we are expecting. So if you are just if your focus is only to produce 75% results to deploy the Apex class, then I think it's same as usual as not having any test strategy, because it's you are not using your focus is only to deploy the code. And why we need to have test strategy? Because test strategy will actually help us understand when something breaks, when we are introducing new solution, new changes to our environment. So no, we know where exactly we need to make changes. So can anybody share their information related to testing or environment strategy, how they are doing it? Nobody likes to share. Yeah, Virendra.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hi. So, I would like to just give an example. But this is a scenario which I see in Dubai actually.
Uh-huh.
Testing is unfortunately overlooked. Even though code is directly deployed into the production, sanity goes on for maybe like 3 4 days. The client sometimes tests on directly on production. So I've checked this with multiple vendors whom we work with, but unfortunately that's the uh, way they are doing it, which ideally is the very wrong way.
Actually, this is the norm here. They will
Yeah,
test for a couple of scenarios, and that's all. And
yeah,
then after 3 months, then we find out that there is some major bug which nobody thought about it.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah. Second major thing is the incident response. Incident incident response is what happens when things go wrong. See, this is one of the thing which nobody thinks about. That what will happen if something goes wrong? And to be very frankly, all solution will go wrong. So Salesforce well-architected framework is just saying that you plan for such actions, how fast you can recover, and how well you understand what happened. So there are two major concepts here when we talk about incident response. First thing is time to recover. Time to recover is something measured in RTOs, right? The recovery time objective. How long can the business tolerate the system being down or degraded? So know this number, designed to meet this. Don't uh, discover your RTO for the first time during the incident. That is something exactly what happened when the Salesforce was down during a couple of months ago. And this was the first time people actually thought something can go wrong. What will happen without Salesforce? So the same way, you can try to plan your solution around those numbers. So RTO, let me give you an example. So let's say you have a website, a Salesforce customer community. So and if it is down, so for how many hours you can tolerate the downtime before some damage started happening to your organization. For example, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hours. So after 4 hours you are incurring loss, so maybe loss of revenue, loss of services, some legal consequences. For example, you are an financial institute and you are receiving requests to process, and 1 hour it means you will lose significantly, maybe millions of dollars. So let's say you are a Mastercard company and you are processing payments. So imagine now how many customers will impacted if your service is down for 1 hour. So that's exactly what RTO means. So how much time you can tolerate if your service is down, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 10 hours. So that is, you need to plan your solution uh, according to that number. Second thing is ability to triage. So when an incident occurs, can you quickly determine where it broke and why? This requires like logging mechanism, clear error messages, audit trails, and the architecture that makes failure visible rather than silent. I have seen code where people are just, silenting the error messages or try to hide something. See, again, similar to like a good solution, you really need to plan for failure. So if something fails, how quickly and how we can inform the users who are using this uh, system that something is wrong. For example, you are having an integration. How you can inform the user that integration is failing and they need to do some action. So some logging mechanism, some notification. So that's exactly how you need to control it. So, and the Salesforce well-architected framework is clear. If your automation fails silently, you don't have a failure, you have a mystery. And again, mysteries are expensive. So somebody needs to spend hours just looking into this, debug logs and trying to reproduce the issue, why exactly it happened. Now imagine you are getting a big order, let's say a couple of millions, and then suddenly your integration fails. Yes, data is there, it did not reach to the destination system, and now you are suffering because, and then somebody is trying to reproduce the issue. That's exactly what it's saying, that if something fails, just inform the people who are taking care of it, like monitoring and alerting. So I have seen a solution where what they are doing, they are logging something, everything they are logging. So if some error occurs, they are logging it in somewhere in the object, and now next day somebody is going there and reading those logs. So yes, it's a good mechanism to read the logs, but try to think of it. If somebody is going to office next day and reading those logs manually, then it means there is something wrong. He might miss there is already 12 hours passed. So you really need to plan such things. You can use Salesforce event monitoring, set up alerts when something wrong is happening. So that's a there are multiple solutions which you can utilize. And again, you need to think about proactive monitoring. So whenever something is happening, how you can predict that something is going on. For example, your system is already consuming too many API calls, so you can predict in that way that yes, if 80% of my API calls are already consumed, how I can save it for the future, and how I can make sure that my solution is optimized for the next 20%. And if 100% it consume, what are the consequences? Maybe my integrations will start failing. And that's what they are saying, that try to build monitoring as part of your solution, not as afterthought. Then the third thing is continuity planning. So there is also something funny, that many people, they think that continuity planning is job of somebody else, but technically if you see, it's always part of a technical architect, that they provide solution about the continuity planning. So what's the plan when something catastrophic happen? So first thing is the business continuity. Can business operate if Salesforce is unavailable? The same question which we asked 2 months ago, that Salesforce is unavailable, what should we do? So every single company, they were just sitting there. We don't have any fallback processes. So we have Salesforce data backup, but that is also saved in Salesforce. So we don't have any option. So Salesforce Well-Architected Frameworks ask you to think beyond the app is down to data is gone. So both things. Your app is down, your data is gone. So now what is your strategy if both things can happen? So, and technically both can happen. So can your solution handle it? And the second question is technology continuity. What happens to your org when Salesforce release the three major updates in a year? When API or deprecated, when your App Exchange package stop being supported. That's where many orgs discover they have undocumented technical dependencies everywhere. So when Salesforce deprecates API 21, does anyone know which integrations are using it? Even now, Salesforce is sending email that they are going to deprecate API from 34 to 60. I think 31 to 64 for the login API. So all you have to do is you need to change. So such things you really need to think about it. If Salesforce is releasing new changes, how our solution is adopted. So first thing in that aspect is try to document your technology dependencies, keep your API versions up to date and current, and have a plan for managed package upgrade. So for example, you are choosing Conga. Now Conga released a new version. So what exactly we need to do in that case? So try to think about it, like business will continue to operate and change around you, so your technology foundation has to hold. So anybody would like to share anything with being resilient? Incident respond and continued plan. Anybody affected with that Salesforce when Salesforce was down? Okay. Now this is something really most architectural interesting part for the framework, composable. So, composable architectures are built in units that operate gracefully with one another and can be swapped in and out of service. So, three areas we have: separation of concern, interoperability, and packageability. So, if being resilient is like you need to survive the change, composable is about enabling the change. Okay. But how does it work? First thing is the separation of concern. Now, separation of concern, you might have heard like a buzzword from many people, but um, this is the single most important design principle in all of software engineering and one of the most violated in Salesforce environments. Then, second thing is the functional units. Your solution should be organized into discrete, independent components that each do one thing well. A trigger that handles lead assignment, sends email, create a task, calls an external API, and update a related opportunity. Now, if you merge everything into one big method, then it's not a functional unit. It's a monolith service within one trigger because your one function is actually performing all of the five action. And unfortunately, many solutions which I saw are doing that. So what we do whenever we need to perform some action, we merge all five actions into one method, and we do all the update calls and email methods, everything in one method, and then we pray that nothing breaks. So the well-architected framework calls out functional units as a building block of composability. So it has a very simple methodology. First of all, separate your data layer from business logic. So what does that mean? That your data layer, like from where you are reading data, you are writing data, your DML operations, keep it separate from your business logic. So your business logic, which is completely separate thing, like how your working hour should be calculated, so keep those two things separate. Then separate your business logic from your integration layer. Then separate your presentation layer from the data model. So this is, you can read more about it in the well-architected framework. They have detailed diagram about this one, that how you can compose it. So basically, you really need to think about it, how you can separate your operations from one and each other. So for example, we have a one method which will recalculate the pricing for opportunities. So there are 20 products, and now we need to recalculate price. If we, let's say, somebody clicks a button, so usually what people are doing, on a click of a button they call a full method. What that method will do, it will pass the opportunity ID, and then it will perform 20 operations. So that's what, where exactly they are saying that do not write this one into big methods, compose them into separate functional units. So for example, one unit which is performing the calculation, one unit which is saving the data, one unit which is performing something else. So these functional units you can then later update. So that's why they are saying that it is easier to upgrade and operate them independently if they can exist independently. So when there is something about the separation of concern, that when you separate concerns properly, you can change one thing without breaking everything else. When you don't, everything is connected to everything, and everything changes required understanding of the entire system. So does it make sense? Like when you are inheriting a new system and you find out, oh my God, one debugging, I really need to go through the 5 MB of debug logs because everything is going into back and forth into same thing. So that's exactly where it is saying that compose your solution in such a way that everything operates independently. Have you ever seen the Jenga game? Let me show you quickly what Jenga is. This is Jenga. So what it does, if you remove one item from it, the other things fall. Have you noticed with your orgs, if that's the situation? That's exactly what happens when you have a composability issue. Okay. The second thing is state management. State management is, where does your solution store and manage state? What is the source of truth for a given piece of data? So if some data lives in multiple places and is kept in sync via complex automation, that's a state management problem. So it will become a data inconsistency issue. For example, you have an account. Now, what is the source of truth for an account? Whether it's a Salesforce or it's an Oracle or it's a third-party system, what is the source of truth for this account? And how does data flow from one system to another to another? So, for example, if you allow changes in Salesforce, then Oracle, then also in the third-party system, that's a that's exactly what state management issue is. So you really need to think about it. Which system is the system of record? Which system is the data user or consumer? Otherwise, you will always suffer with the state management. So you really need to be explicit about states. So know what exactly is source of truth, and don't drift from it. Because yes, people will say, oh, I want to change data in Oracle itself. Tell them, no, this is not the way data should be updated. Source of truth is Salesforce. So data should be updated from Salesforce and should flow to Oracle, or vice versa. If Oracle is the source of truth, the data always should be updated in Oracle, and then from there it should flow back to the Salesforce. Even the same thing within your own custom objects. So if you have a source of truth where data is being updated somewhere, so you really need to plan your transactions accordingly. For example, account name. If you are storing account name and some related information at the account level, do not store that information into some third object in another object and try to update in that third object. And now you have a problem because the account information is outdated, and but the other information in the third another custom object, it's updated. So that is something you really need to think about it when you uh, design a solution. Then another thing is interoperability. See, interoperability is how does your Salesforce solution talk to the rest of the world. So first thing is, yes, you have Salesforce solution. It might need to coexist with Oracle, with Informatica, with something else. So first thing with Salesforce is recommending messaging and events. So what Salesforce is saying, adopt the event driven pattern whenever it's appropriate. Platform events, change data capture, data cloud streaming, that everything is loosely coupled and it's async communication. For example, you have 20 accounts got updated. So rather than, rather than, pushing that information as a full stream or fully synchronous uh, integration, all you have to use is just utilize the platform event and change data capture. And what it will happen, it will trigger a notification to the third party system. Yes, this record got updated, please fetch the latest record. I have seen even today, as of today, 2026, many solutions are using batch integrations, which I don't think so it is really appropriate. So how it works, people are there is a batch which is listening for every 15 minutes, which is executing after every 15 minutes, and then after that it is looking for the records which are being updated. And if there is any record which was being updated, it will fetch that record, and then it will try to update the destination. Here we have many new technologies. We have messaging and events. Like all you have to do is, even the new enterprise service buses, they support the new Salesforce changes. So now, in context of composability, why it matters that it should be async. So try to think of it. You need to push data from A to B. Currently, right now, many systems are using synchronous integrations. So what does that mean? The system A is dependent on system B. For example, you need to push data from Salesforce to Oracle. Now, imagine if Oracle is down. So A is dependent on Oracle being always up. So what is happen when Salesforce will try to push data to Oracle and Oracle is down, it breaks. That's exactly what tight coupling is, because both are independent, both are dependent on each other. So now, in context of messaging an event, if A publishes an event and B subscribe to it, then it doesn't matter. Salesforce is down or sorry, the system Oracle is down or not. A is done. Now, if B is slow, B is unavailable or replaceable, it does not affect B. It does not affect the A system A. But what will happen in that case? Whenever B will be available, it will be automatically fetching the new data. Second thing under interoperability is API management. Now, API management is like your contracts. You publish an API and the consumer uses it. Like somebody is fetching data from Salesforce or somebody is pushing data to Salesforce. That is the API which we are talking about. So Salesforce Well-Architected Framework is saying always version your APIs. Why we need to version that? So if whenever you are upgrading something, here we don't have such situations where your API needs to be consumed by multiple people. For example, you created an API which will authenticate users. So in that case, authenticate user will not be a correct way because Salesforce has its own authentication mechanism. Let's say somebody We create an API which will create orders, and these orders are pushed into Salesforce. So now imagine the entire city is using the same API. So what Salesforce is saying in that case, always version your APIs. So version in that way that you create version 1 and now you need to upgrade version 2. So version 1 and version 2 both exist at the same time. So and you it will help you retire your existing version gracefully. Otherwise, if you will try to replace your version 1 with the new, everything will start breaking. Because we might have seen such thing that if you add one field, your API stop working. So that is something you really need to consider. Unfortunately, I haven't seen any solution which is gracefully performing such operation other than custom built API. Connected app, name credential, external credential. So these are not just authentication mechanism, these are actually architectural plumbing into your interoperability layer. So all what we need to do is we need to configure them properly and just to make sure our components are loosely coupled. Many people I have seen what they do, they hard code their credentials within the Apex itself. So don't try to do that. I mean, like within 2026, I don't think so it's really even necessary to say that we need to do that. The last part, which is the packageability. Unfortunately, I have seen many Salesforce developers and consultants, they are unaware of packageability, that they don't know how to package their solution. All their solution is just create 5 components, 2 Apex classes, and deploy. Technically, you can do that. So all you need to do is just you need to make sure that your solution, how you can, which components of your solution can be packaged, reused, and distributed. So why it matters? Because let's say you have multiple orgs and now you need to deploy same solution into multiple orgs. What normally as a Salesforce developer people will do, they will just try to copy the same XML file, deploy it. But Salesforce has a mechanism for that. You can package your code, your solution, and deploy into multiple orgs. So here, loosely coupling framework is very empathetic about it. So solution built with loosely coupled mean when component does not have hard dependency on in each other's internals. So then you can create package of those. So but unfortunately, because when we are implementing solutions, we make sure that not we make sure, we do it intentionally or unintentionally, we make it tight coupling. So for example, although it's unnecessary, but still people make such implementation. For example, uh, let's say we need to implement round robin logic. It's just one method which will take some list of leads, and then we need to assign it to a list of users. But usually most of the time how people are implementing it, they implement it in within the lead trigger or a method in such a way that you cannot take out that logic out from the class itself. So that's where we make mistakes. And the second thing is dependency management. Now if your solution depends on a managed package from app exchange, what happens when your package is when that package is deprecated, acquired, or has some updates which are breaking? So understand those dependencies and try to minimize whenever it's possible. And if there is a possibility of documenting things, just document. I will personally provide one example that we implemented some solution some years ago. It was a Salesforce Lab solution. So some of the architect, what they did, they copied the solution from App Exchange, and now there was a bug in the code which was preventing opportunity line items being copied from the quote line items. And that bug actually created a bigger problem later when we had maybe more than 50 products. So these kind of things you really need to think about it. So, and if you are building packages by yourself, unlock packages are or the second generation managed package where flexibility matters. Use proper name spacing strategies. Now, I have seen many Salesforce developers are even unaware of the namespaces, how they need to do use namespaces. Namespaces is actually virtually you are isolating your solutions from the others. For example, you might have noticed when you install Conga, all classes which with Conga start with the Conga 4 or something, aptx4, these kind of namespaces. That's exactly how your solution is segregated from the other classes. Now, packageability isn't just for ISVs, because many people think that why do we really need to care about the packages? But technically, based on my experience, it is how well organized your solution is, and how you can upgrade, because you can think of your solution as a uh, you know as a single set of unit, that where multiple smaller units are combined, and then you can take it from one place to another, and it increase your deploy uh, ability. Like you can reuse this package into multiple orgs, you can easily upgrade it. So that is something you really need to think about it. Okay, so that's all for today. Anybody has any feedback or any question?
Hi, Misbah, Virendra here
Yeah.
again.
Yes,
I
Fred.
don't have a question. The point I wanted to just make is uh, I'm new to this region, 3 years,
Hmm.
pretty new the way I see you all are like involved. But many teams or organizations are not using the package deliveries, or maybe due to the timelines, or maybe I don't know, due to the costing. But for example, I am a developer, for example, and I do want to follow all this what you just mentioned wonderfully, like being ready for failures and proactive monitoring. But since my project timelines or due to costing it's not feasible, how as an individual developer I can like make sure these things work for me?
See, unfortunately, that's true everywhere. Because first of all, many people they cannot distinguish between an architect and a developer.
Yes.
So for us, only criteria of being called an architect is I completed 5 years of experience. Now I should start calling myself an architect. That's and
Yeah.
second thing is, even I have seen people, junior developers, and they passed one exam of architect, and now they started writing, oh, I am architect. Yeah, okay,
Correct.
very well and good, you are an architect. Start working like an architect, because unless you don't change your mindset, you are really not an architect. You can call yourself president of USA, but it does not make you one.
Right.
So that's where something differentiates between a developer and an architect. Because architect, they will think in for the same solution in a different way. Unfortunately, here, when they are giving us a task, we are not asking the right question. Yeah,
Mm.
timeline is one thing. They
Yes.
will say, let's say we need to implement lead management solution. Okay, very
Mm.
well and good. And they will say, oh, this is just lead management
Lead
solution and
management.
you need
Yeah.
5 days. Why you need 5 days for that?
Correct.
Here, you really need to justify them why I need 5 days. First of all, I need to ask the right questions here. Guys,
Exactly.
I need these five answers. How many leads are coming per day? What are the lead sources? How many
Source. Yeah.
peoples I need to assign to lead to? Whether
Mhm.
there is a round robin, whether there is already a lead management this solution
Absolutely.
exists, do I need to clean up something? So these kind of questions we are really scared to ask,
Mhm.
and that's exactly the problem comes. So what happens when this solution comes to you? Now you will start implement you start cutting the corners. You
Correct.
will all your effort is only to create a new method which perform the desired operation. You will never think about the what about the 50 methods which already exist.
Exists.
So that's exactly where technical depth start coming.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So asking the right questions is also one of the main forte.
But
almost all.
unfortunately, many people they don't even listen to those questions. So you need to
Yeah.
document, you need to share it with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yep.
look, try to think about it. For us, we think if somebody is saying you are late, it's something which we take it on ourselves.
Hmm.
And that's incorrect because it's not my problem. Try
Yeah,
to think in that way. Yes, it takes something takes 5 days, it will take 5 days. But
absolutely.
what happens usually the project managers they might
Mm.
have already committed the deadline
Correct.
without even consulting with us. They will just say,
Absolutely.
think about it, oh it will take 2 days, or they will try to ask Google or Chat GPT. That's another I call it it's the curse because
Yes,
people don't they blindly trust whatever Chat GPT is saying.
unfortunately. Yeah,
Yeah, and Chat GPT might have trained on the data which had a two-line requirement which took 2 days.
correct.
So that's a problem.
Yep, yep. Got it.
So anybody else would like to share something?
Yeah, Misbah, this is always. So, first of all, thank you for this informative session. This is my first time in this group. Thank you for adding me in the Trailblazer community for UAE. And so, yeah, very informative. Although I'm from sales and consulting background, obviously, doing account management, such delivery or post implementation issues keep coming up. So I think keeping oneself updated about the well architected framework is very important. So thank you for that session.
Yeah.
My question, as I initially asked you, was primarily, so just a very quick background, right? So I've been in the country since 1985, spent 10 years in the UAE, 11 years in Saudi, um, and last 5 years specifically consulting in the healthcare domain. Now, obviously, very excited to see what Salesforce is talking about agentic AI. I know many companies are doing that, but looking at how others are talking, I believe Salesforce is making those investments, either buying those companies, acquiring those companies, or organically evolving, within Salesforce. So I think they are doing wonderful things. And from that perspective, I believe there will be a lot of adoption in the Middle East, right? Now, specifically, I just wanted to understand because again, you've been in this region for a long time as well, Misbah, and the question is to open to anybody is what adoption do you see about health cloud or health related, health industry related adoption of Salesforce beyond just a CRM tool, right? So I've been an end user for last 15 years, right? Just running the sales cycle in Salesforce. But beyond that, what is the adoption within the healthcare industry? And if this is not really doing well, what other industries are adopting Salesforce from a purely agentic AI perspective? So that was my question.
See, agentic AI is a separate thing, and being healthcare solution, it's a completely separate thing. Because see, healthcare solution, regardless of whether it's a Salesforce Health Cloud or any other solution, first of all, the base requirement is it must be HIPAA compliant. Second thing is Salesforce adoption. So there are already, because Salesforce Health Cloud is something new.
Hmm.
So there is already, I have seen many solutions which are being practiced. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I have seen Siebel and Oracle being prominent name in this industry.
Hmm.
Now, if somebody has already invested in this industry, it's not easy to change. Like suddenly they will switch over to Salesforce Health Cloud. That's my personal experience, which I'm seeing. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe for the new markets, for example, when something new is starting up, and here in the Middle East, I have seen a pattern. If one person is using some solution, the other person will try to copy it. They will not think about whether it's fulfilled my requirements or not, but they will just try to copy it because he has it, so I need to have the same solution.
Right.
That's something I have seen. But sales, still, I have seen some implementation people have started adopting Health Cloud, but not that much.
Okay. I agree to you in terms of adopting in the pattern in the region, right? So they follow a lot of Gartner and IDC reports, and because we answer a lot of RFPs, sometimes it's very clearly mentioned that as part of the roadmap, they want to adopt an EMR first, and then probably later towards, or maybe start with a CRM and ERP, and then slowly go towards an EMR. So they lay down that roadmap very, very clearly. And in that, very few times they've mentioned, yes, we would like to go with Salesforce, right?
Yeah.
So, but again, if you look at the kind of investment Salesforce is making specifically in Saudi, I think they've announced what, $500 million of investment in Saudi sometime last year. Obviously, this is over a number of years in training and development and other things. But and also to link this with what UAE announced a couple of weeks back, in 2 years of time they want to have even the public sector, the private sector, almost 50% adopting agentic AI process. So is it more of a public sector adopting Salesforce? You were saying more of the other industry sectors adopting. Just want to understand the pattern of where things are headed.
See, here, unfortunately, if you see half of the people, they are unaware of what agentic AI can do. For us,
Right.
AI means only giving ChatGPT something to write email, or I have
Right.
even seen people pasting data into ChatGPT.
Yes.
Just please do something for us. They don't have clear idea about what agentic AI means. And one of the biggest challenge which I have seen, and just to show you something, we are starting another program. We will announce next week. It is something for the people because there was already another program related to how do we restore our orgs. Like what there are many orgs which are more than 10 years old, how to restore our orgs based on the modern thing. But we have revived this program into that way. You have an old 10-year-old, 15-year-old Salesforce org. How you can make it ready for the agent force and the agentic AI? Because one of the biggest problem we noticed that many people they want to do, let's say they want to roll out agent force, but their orgs are not ready. Their data is not ready. So yes, they have announced they want to do something, but technical they are incapable of doing something. And many partners, what they are asking them, let's implement a new org. You see where we are heading in that way. So whoever is spending money and everything, then they will have a clean new org. And this is one of the reason many orgs they are hesitant to perform any action. So what they are, and when government has announced that they need to be agentic ready, so they are thinking of alternates about that. Yes, it is happening, but and also Salesforce and other big players they are making big moves about it.
Right.
Even from the Trailblazer community perspective, yes, that's I will announce it in next week about the new program, and I will cut it that area from the QAs before posting it online. This is just only for you guys.
Sure,
That
sure.
is an 8-week program that is specifically for people who want to make their orgs ready for agent force.
Excellent. Misbah.
Yes, Zaid, you wanted to say something?
Hi, thank you so much, Mr. for this wonderful session. Mr. I'm having the concern regarding basically while we are deploying our application, we are facing so many challenges. Like how we can build a proper release management process. Our deployments like it's terrifying. We are unable to be managed.
See, this is not you. There are many people. How they are usually deploying, they call it Friday deployment.
Yeah.
So what they do, they just deploy it on the Friday, and then after that they pray that nothing breaks. And the weekend, the waits for 2 days. If something happens, so at least we can, fix it. But Salesforce has proper application lifecycle management, and it is under resilient. I have explained it that it is the core heart of how your deployments happen. So first, all you need to do is you need to define your environment strategy. So you need to be bare minimum, you need to have a sandbox, developer sandbox where developer will work, a QA, UAT sandbox, and production environment. Like three things. Let me just do one thing. Application live. Let me share that screen with you. you can see, let me see if the org screen, there is a full architecture related to that. Like whenever how you are doing application live say, and let me just show you Salesforce org strategy. I'll share one image with that because it is usually the image which has multiple sandboxes, and how you need to share your how you need to move your changes from one org to another. So basically what you need to do is first you need to define your org strategy. So for example, developer sandbox, QA, UAT, production, and how you will move from one changes from one sandbox to another, regardless of how small it is. You should have a predefined path how you will move changes. Second thing is you can use Salesforce DevOps Center. It's available. You can version control, link it with your GitHub or Bitbucket, and it can actually help you move changes from one sandbox into another. And really, it will help you track who changed in what sandbox and try to avoid change sets. I remember some time ago, people, some very big name, he sent me an email that we will move changes from one sandbox to another using conventional methods. And I asked him, what is the conventional method? They said change sets. I said, no, change set, stop using change set. Try to think of it that how you will move from one sandbox to another, not change set, but through a pipeline. So Salesforce has already released a Salesforce DevOps Center, which is available freely. And then you can, if you are where is Salesforce DevOps Center? Yes, you can go to Salesforce Developer, and it has full details about the DevOps Center, that how to deploy, how to install, how to set up. It's within the even your org setup. It is uh, mentioned that it is that there is documentation related to that, full documentation, and how. Let me just. I think it will be easier
to manage and release changes securely and effectively at your organization.
You can hear it or no?
Sandboxes are a critical part
Yes,
of
yes.
Yes, it's audible.
They're a copy of your live production environment that allow you to safely build and test changes before rolling them out to your users. You can use sandboxes to isolate customization and development work from production environments, test changes against copies of your production data and users, test new Salesforce release features, or simply provide a training environment. It's important to use the right sandbox for your needs. Developer and Developer Pro sandboxes are for lightweight development and individual quality assurance, or QA testing. Partial copy sandboxes include a subset of data for things like realistic integration testing. Full sandboxes include a complete copy of your production data and metadata to test large datasets, perform user acceptance testing or UAT, stage releases, and even train new users. For simple development, such as an individual admin or developer creating declarative solutions, you may only need to use a single sandbox. For example, you can add custom fields, or pick lists, or page layouts, or test the latest Salesforce release against your org. Complex development, such as a team of developers building complex code or integrations, requires a more robust sandbox management strategy as part of the development lifecycle. You may need to manage a team with multiple members and roles. Merge development from multiple individual development environments prior to production release. Establish version control, or test changes against production data and users. Once you're ready to roll out changes, there are many ways to move them to production, including change sets, metadata API, Salesforce CLI, and DevOps Center, which you can install and configure as a free managed package in your org. For maximum source control and better collaboration, we recommend managing your sandboxes in DevOps Center. Let's take a look at how to manage the sandbox development lifecycle in DevOps Center, from creating new projects all the way to promoting approved changes. On the DevOps Center homepage, click New Project in the upper right corner. In the project name field, enter a unique name. For example, Winter Release. Click Save. Next, let's create your project pipeline and connect your sandboxes. Underneath Release Environment, select Click to Create Pipeline. You can add one or more sandboxes to the project pipeline. Refresh sandboxes will need to be reconnected to DevOps Center. Scroll to the stage named Production, then select Connect Environment. In the Add Release Environment window, click Login. Select or enter your username and password for the environment. Click Login, then click Confirm. Optionally, you can scroll to the right to find or add your other sandboxes, like staging, for example. Again, click Connect Environment. Click Login. Select or enter the username and password for that environment. Click Login. Then click Confirm. Scroll back to the section named Staging and select Specify Branch. In the branch name field, type Staging, then click Save. A huge benefit of using DevOps Center is that it enhances collaboration and streamlines the promotion of changes between sandboxes for Salesforce developers. Let's fast forward through the process of adding 2 more sandboxes, one for UAT and one for integration, and specifying branches for both. When finished connecting your sandboxes, select Add Development Environment. In the Environment Name field, enter a unique nickname. For example, Winter Dev Sandbox. Click Login. Select or enter your username and password for the environment. Click Login. And select Confirm. In the upper right corner, click Activate. Next, we'll start a work item, which teams use to track the progress of a task or objective, like enabling a user story or addressing a bug. From the project menu, select the Work Items tab. Click the New Work Item button. In the subject field, enter a subject name, for example, Datetime Controller. Click Save. A source control branch that is associated is created to track all the changes you make in your development environment. Select the work ID number that you just created. You can choose whether to work in DevOps Center or another external tool, such as Code Builder. Let's stay in DevOps Center by clicking the drop-down, selecting a connected environment, and clicking Proceed. Select Pull Changes to pull them from the development environment so that you can see them before committing any changes to the repository for review. Scroll down the list of file names. DevOps Center has source tracking that automatically detects any changes you've made in your sandbox environment. Check the box for the Datetime Controller file. In the comments box, enter a description of the changes you're committing. When finished, click Commit Changes. You'll receive a confirmation message that says, Commit Complete. When you commit changes, they're stored in the repository branch that was created when the work item moved to the In Progress stage. Click the Activity History tab to view the events for each work item. Then select the drop-down arrow at the far right for a historical view of all events and details for auditing, troubleshooting, and general visibility. If you're working with a team of developers, your dev environment may get out of sync with the source control repository. DevOps Center will notify you when your environment is out of date, and you'll have the option to sync it to ensure you're developing against the latest source of truth. To view whether or not environments are in sync, you can navigate to the Pipeline Environments tab. Once your changes are committed, click the Create Review button to create a GitHub or Bitbucket pull request in the background environment without requiring expertise in version control. After reviewing your work item, a team member can approve your request by switching the toggle to Ready to Promote status. You'll receive a confirmation message that says, Work item ready to promote. Next, let's promote your changes and merge your pull request into the source control repository. To do this, navigate to the project menu and select the Pipeline tab. From the Stage tab, navigate to Approved Work Items. Check the work item ID. Then click Promote Selected to begin merging your pull requests and loading promotion options. In the Promotion Options window, review selections and click the Promote button. You'll receive a confirmation message that says Promotion Successful. If promotion is successful, the Datetime Controller work item will move to the integration stage. Now that you know how to utilize sandboxes and work items in DevOps Center, you're well on your way to safely managing the development lifecycle at your organization.
So that was for the DevOps Center. You can actually install it on your. I think many of the people, they are even unaware of that something like this exists, and it is completely part of the Salesforce ecosystem. So Zaid, is it answer to your question?
Yeah, indeed. So clear, Misbah. Thank you so
Yes.
much for sharing
Yes.
this.
So anything else?
Misbah, I have one question
Mhm.
regarding APIs, asynchronous APIs. So we do have a limit. So I have come across one situation where the asynchronous limits was being used by the third party. So later, when we checked everything, the number of API calls we are calling and we are receiving, later we got to know there's one API which is being used by the third party and which doesn't need it. It's consuming more. By 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, it's around 90% of API limit is being consumed. So is there anything from either event monitoring where we can get notified to our emails or like uh, so that we don't need to go and check if something is happening. So this situation we got to know when we went into the system and checked. Instead of that, if something is there anything to get notified to our email boxes?
I think within event monitoring, you have an option to, configure it that if it is consumed more than 80%, somebody needs to get notified.
Okay,
The
so with event,
ideal situation is you must be actually blocking such API requests, because if
yeah,
something is unnecessary, you need to remove it from your org.
okay. So with
So, but
event monitoring.
yes, so within event monitoring, you can configure it like such notifications.
Okay. Okay, Miss, I will check that option. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to share something?
Hi, Ms. Ba.
Hi, Lalitha.
Thank you for this session. And for regarding the documenting, is there
Mhm.
any by default the platform provides the space to have the documents?
Salesforce has a documentation way, I mean, like how to document. Let me just see if, because there are some document templates. So you are talking about documentation of the solution or something else?
No, for the solution,
So
there's no
documenting for the solution.
documentations, and for the new developers, it will be the only thing to know about the existing things.
I saw somewhere on the Salesforce architecture framework, the documentation templates. Let's see. Not sure if it is the correct one. See, I think there is a template. Let me share my screen. So there are well architects. You can search them from the Salesforce Architect Works website. So there are some well architected design standard templates. So for example, definitions, naming conventions, data management, you can encryption. So these kind of things you can document in the. But actually, it depends on your. It varies from company to company how they document their solution, but usually it is very standardized way. So you have something related to the object, and then whether which kind of metadata you are using and what is the usage of that metadata. It is too subjective to the and it varies from company to company. You can use the same API, same templates, but you can define your own templates also,
Okay, thank you.
because within the code itself you can there is a standard way of documenting your code, and you can ask agent force vibes to document your code. All right, guys, thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Thank you. See, I will
Thank you.
post
You
for
will
the recording. All right, thank you.